Yo, what's up, what's up? It's the one and only Furious Hip Hop Gamer, Hot 97 Logitech G AMD. Now listen, it's not every day you get a chance to talk to somebody that's building a triple A first person shooter on blockchain technology. It's about to get real serious right now, you know what I'm saying? So without further ado, I present to y'all somebody that's doing amazing things with an amazing team, and we're gonna learn all about it right now. So give it up, put your hands together. Shrapnel is in the building. Don Norbury. What's going on, baby? Talk to me, son.
What up,
First of
man?
all, how you
Thanks for
feeling?
having me. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You know, coming back in the new year with lots of energy.
Yeah.
Everybody's super psyched to be doing what we're doing, and we're just looking forward to the future and good things.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Now, before we start, I gotta spin a chain on the fact that you here, son. Gotta spin a chain showing you love, son. So now look, let's get right into it, B. Everybody's talking about blockchain. Everybody's talking about metaverse, NFTs, all these things, right?
The M word. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
the M word, right? So now, to those that's real, that really live this gaming culture and just the tech culture, we know that this been around. This is nothing new, but it's new
Yep.
to the people that's like, oh, this is cool, and let's try to do something. Like, you know what I mean? There's money to be made. I gotta ask you, man, going this route with blockchain technology, developing a game on this technology, what was the thought behind it when you gather your team up? I know you got 10 plus years in the game industry overall. What was the thought process and the focal point saying that, you know what, the next thing that we do, it needs to be built on blockchain technology? How is this game going to make a difference once it hits the industry, once it's done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always had this dream at Neon of kind of bringing back modding in games. I think a lot of us grew up during that, that era where we were all playing with stuff and sharing it with the community.
Yep.
Getting lots of negative feedback, but a lot of positive too. And there's a certain energy there that exists. And kids over the last kind of 10, 20 years have grown up with Minecraft and Roblox, and they've aged into one after the other. Fortnite's kind of a huge thing now, kind of a huge thing. It's a huge
Yeah,
thing
it's
now.
a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But people don't just stop wanting to make stuff and share stuff, right? Like that's what we do. It's what creators do at every skill level and every part of society. So really what we wanted to do from a passion perspective was create a place that's in our Shrapnel universe that people can come. It's not just sandbox open tapestry. There is a game there that is a specific thing. There's a style of universe that's a specific thing, and you can come put your brand on it. So with the blockchain side, it was just a natural coupling, right? We had digital ownership, decentralized expression and protocol, like the community building that exists in that world. Some of it is a result of the technology, and some of it's just a result of how the different communities and people interact with each other and the energy there. So that really is what glued it together in our brain and made it a completely natural thing. And the
All right,
further we went into that hole, the more and more it made sense over time.
got you. Now, when you say AAA, I always like to make sure I'm clear with this. When you say
Yeah.
AAA, are you speaking AAA from a standpoint of the budget that you have to build this game on, or are you speaking from a standpoint of the developer talent that you got on the roster that's going to make this AAA? Because we need to decipher this, because we've seen games that are like currently right now, one of the biggest AAA titles is Battlefield 2042,
2042,
but it ain't it's not working good. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like it fell short. So I'm just keeping it real. I love Battlefield, but I call a spade a spade. It's not doing what we wanted it to do. So I need to know your definition of AAA so fans could be like, "Oh, word!" It's like, get excited. So talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. And I would say, with the examples you have touted, at the very least, we got some hilarious videos out of
we
that
did.
whole.
We did.
AAA to me, to us, really as a company and team, is about the pedigree and the approach to the design and development. There's actually a wide range of budgetary aspects to that, and we think there's a wide range of development styles that approach to it. We bring to the table as well. So if you look at if you look at like a single player narrative game, for example, I define AAA as sort of like how long was it in the can and just being polished before it saw the light of day, before the audience got it in their hands. For that style of game, if that's a year of time, that's a AAA game. That team basically finished the game and had a year to polish the game before you played it. That's AAA, right?
Mm.
That is like, we didn't just dump this on you. You actually got something that is the highest regard, like polished quality possible. In an indie space, when you're talking about a very small team, that might be triple I would be that term. That's where we're getting into like the triple letters
Ooh,
of
okay.
like quality level. And then people associate the other budget dimension to it. But that's a range. You might be talking $50 million, might be $250 million when you're
Got
looking
it.
at some of these big open world games lately, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at it, it is on both of those dimensions. There is a funding aspect to it as well as a polish aspect to it. But the game we're making isn't a single player story driven game. It is a multiplayer shooter that we plan on developing in a way that is more crypto native, I guess. It's more appeals to the blockchain crowd. So we're not going to wait until, you know, a few months before release and drop a $60 title. We're going to have a lot of releases that come out for people to get in, to get their hands on it, to play with it, to feel how it feels and give feedback, and to be rewarded and incentivized to participate in the community that way. So we see it as like a community building exercise, a feedback exercise. We want people to feel like they're part of the development process. And we
Got
believe we
you.
can do that with our AAA pedigree, like the projects that we came from, and it'll be healthier for everyone.
Got you. Now this is very interesting. So going into the actual game, Shrapnel, in terms of what it is, we know it's a shooter. I get it, but what it is there some sort of story behind it? You know, when you think about the environments in the world and the ambiance that makes this game what it is, can you, whatever you can share, can you give us
Yeah,
a little? Yeah, I trust.
I
No,
wish
I
I could
know.
share. I wish I could share a lot more,
Yeah.
right?
So with
Except
yeah, so with
I
what?
was gonna say people will kill me. People will kill
Yeah,
me. I have to be careful. I have to tread
yeah.
carefully.
So
We have a
with
lot
what
to
you can share.
share. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot to share, and there'll be a lot of that coming out very soon. So hopefully we'll be talking again in the near future.
Got you.
What I can talk about is it is an extraction shooter specifically. So it is
Mm.
lose your loadout, high stakes loot hunting basically. That
Okay.
is the context of how you're going to play the game and the kind of gameplay texture of what it is. It is um, from a genre perspective,
Mhm.
the most popular in the space right now is probably Escape from Tarkov.
Yep.
But we feel like we can make the more accessible, more approachable, more fun, snappy version of something in that space is what we're targeting.
So kind of like a Call of Duty version of Escape from Tarkov, where it's more pick up and play, twitchy, more fun, more engaging, but still have realistic sentiments and cosmetics to it. So you still feel you're not missing out on the not so much the brutality, but you're not missing out on the authenticity of what you're going to be creating here. So
Yeah, I mean
now,
that's
yeah,
exactly it. Yep, yep.
okay,
And that tension too of like, I have stuff, but I got to get it out, right? And it's not just I'm trying to rack up kills or whatever, rack up points so I can get a loot crate and open it with a key at the end, right? There's this very one-to-one relationship of the stuff that's there and that I got to get out so I can take it with me.
got you. So now you mentioned extraction, right? And we know we have Rainbow Six Extraction, like you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
that's dropping. So if there's any type of comparison, so that fans could kind of get some sort of idea, tease, and inspiration behind what y'all building right here, how would you compare, if you can compare, what y'all doing to what we see right now in Rainbow Six Extraction? Where's the relatability at, if there is any?
That's a great question. I mean, we do this sort of exercise internally a lot, and I probably break myself into jail or get in trouble for talking about this too much before we have publicly available information. Um, I will say, we talk a lot about the traversal of characters, how you move through the environment, and then we talk a lot about how we're tuning the ballistics on the weapon and the gun feel. You know, you've got your Call of Duties that are kind of like super soakers that happen to shoot bullets. And then you've got your battlefields have a kind of a weightier feel to them, and certainly more realistic ballistics. And I would say there's pieces of those that we're taking inspiration from
I
and
like it.
finding a balance between them. I will say we do feel that the battlefield more realistic, and like big finger quotes on that, because ultimately it has to be fun and feel good, right? You make something
Absolutely.
that's super realistic, you end up in Arma territory, and
Yeah.
there's certainly some great videos that come out of that. But it's a very specific type of game for a very specific type of person, and
Right.
we are definitely not that game. So yeah, that's my very vague way of saying, yeah, we
No,
have a
I
lot to
got you.
share,
I
and we're
got you.
thinking in that space.
Yeah, I see you pulling from different areas, and I
Yeah.
love it. I respect that. So now another major question for you, man. When it comes to shrapnel overall, in the process of raising the funds, you know what I'm saying? Y'all raised 10 million or a little over 10 million to do this. So many people got so many ideas and creativity trying to make games, trying to do so many things, trying to get funding. So
Yeah.
from a business standpoint, you know, what can you share about your story and your journey that allowed y'all to even get approved to get this series funding? And what can you say to inspire others, or ways that can help others see their dreams come true too? Because they need a lot of people need funding as well, and you guys achieved it. So can you walk us through what that was like? Because I know it couldn't have been easy.
It was definitely not easy. And I will say, you know, we're always looking personally as well to help anybody in the industry who wants to go through that journey. So I would encourage, you know, people looking to understand that more deeply to even reach out to me or the rest of the team directly. We're more than happy to like connect people and coach people through that process. It is hard, and we love the more people succeed, the more we all succeed. Rising tide floats all boats, sort of deal.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'll throw that out there first. I'll say our journey, you know, we're lucky in that we're a bunch of industry veterans who kind of all found each other at HBO before we formed this company. And kind of when we met each other within the first week, we're like, you know, if this ever doesn't work out, we should totally start a studio together. It was
Ah,
that, you know,
that's
that
crazy.
sort of magic. And I will say, having other people is probably the most important part of it, right? Like, being a one man army is impossible if you're going to build something other than, you know, a side scroller or something like that.
Right.
And aside from just the skills that go into doing it and the production process, the networking connections of people will accumulate over time for marketing and testing, and just people getting out there and playing the game, and how people find out about it and discoverability. So for us, we were lucky in that we all kind of came from studio building and publishing roots in the industry. So we had a lot of network connections. That said, even in game space, even if you've got a good team, it's still hard to get funding, unless you're in the zeitgeist of the moment.
Yeah.
We got lucky in that what we're doing is in the zeitgeist of the moment. It's a very hot space that we're in right now. And we didn't even realize it when we first started pitching it.
Wow.
But we did realize it very quickly after we started pitching it, based on the caliber of response we were getting as compared to, you know, what we're used to in this space. So I think there's definitely a bunch of luck involved. There's 100% of the like network connection value. Like, you cannot underestimate how valuable that is. Even if somebody doesn't, it's not that maybe they don't like you. It's maybe that like it's just not a good fit for what they're doing at the time in terms of funding.
Right.
They'll hook you up with somebody else that maybe it is a better fit. It fits the like fund and the portfolio that they're looking to fill at that point.
Yep.
So
Passing off that assist. Yep.
yeah, it's all about like building bridges and continuing to build them.
Now, absolutely, man. So now I gotta ask you this. I gotta tap into this even more, right? So when you look at overall the crypto space and play to earn, and when you look at what's going on now, my
Yeah.
question to you is: are y'all seeking, or are y'all interested in actually having a crypto partner? Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's say like Ethereum is like, yo, we like this game. Like, what can we do? You know what I mean? Because you got you building your game on a blockchain anyway. You know, we the ERC20. Like, what can we do? So, have you
Yeah,
been approached that way, or do you feel like that's where things is going, or is that something that y'all doing now? If you can share.
we have a ton of partners. uh,
Ah, see.
yeah,
What's
yeah,
up?
yeah.
Talk to me, sir. How this works?
Yeah. So again, that information will be available very soon. Yeah, we've got a laundry list of just super valuable people in all the dimensions you're talking about. You know, some of that's communities and guilds, some of it's just fundamental technology in the space, some of it's influencer networks. It's yeah. I mean, we definitely tied in with all of that and love being tied in with all of it. We learn new stuff and meet new people every day and are all about it. So yeah, that you'll have a lot of info. You know, aside from just Griffin and Polychain, who
Got
are
you.
our kind of equity investment when we started. We've
Got
got
you.
a lot of partners we picked up with the attention we gathered.
That's amazing. Now I got a major controversial question for you, bro. I hope you can answer this. You know what I'm saying?
All
So
right.
now here's the deal, right? A lot I'm seeing this all over my timeline. So many gamers is like, we hate NFTs. Why are they doing this? They're ruining the game industry. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, do you know what this is? Like, look, because you have a lot of people that have an entrepreneur's business mind, and you got people that are just consumers. And to be honest, most consumers that are just consumers, they not too bright on a lot of things because
Oh,
they I'm just keeping it real. They'll see something and just go along. They won't do the research to understand. They just see it and just go along. Whereas people
yeah.
that are, you know what I mean? Well, people that are in business, that are entrepreneurs, they understand things differently and they see the world through a different lens. So my question to you, what is your thoughts on a lot of gamers that have this fear of NFTs and blockchains and all this stuff that's coming into the industry? Like, what is this fear? Can you speak on that? And also, can you educate on why this is a game changer and value will be actually given back to us in the form of this ownership opportunity?
Yeah, you're trying to get me in trouble, but no, this is like this is a spicy topic right now. Not, I would say, not just among gamers, but among game developers as well. So I would say, you know, you talk about the common public and their perception of NFTs. I would say a lot of it is just like you said. It's more about being informed with the right perspectives or with different perspectives. It depends how much you care. If you don't care that much, you're just gonna see one person's perspective and it's gonna sprinkle around like a virus. Whereas if you care more, you're going to start investigating something on your own and understanding it more deeply, and then you're going to have a completely different perspective. So a lot of this is about educating, and a lot of it is also about just creating and leading with good examples, which is a huge pillar of what we are at Shrapnel. We believe that gamers can be shown how awesome this space can be and what it can actually mean to them, without all of the kind of technophile adoption frictional pieces, and that you can have a fantastic entertainment experience and social experience, and like that part you will just see, the crypto blockchain part you will just see is like, why didn't we have this before, right? Now I get it. So we're all about leading by example in that frame, and I think that's the way it has to happen. Like that's how we have to do it, because not everybody's going to want to just be educated with a web page or something. They're going to want to be educated through experience, and that through that tactile experience.
And
And there's certainly, like on the game dev side as well, there's a little bit of that same flip of, it's so hard to make games already. To make a good game, it's you gotta hug your baby really hard, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like, why are you doing things that are interfering with this already super difficult process? And I get that too. In some ways, game developers are incredibly conservative with technological advancements for that reason, because they've seen so many things fail. I can't,
Mm.
like, I have to empathize with those people. But we've taken the time on our project to look about what we can do as opposed to why we shouldn't do things, and are taking that kind of future looking approach.
Incredible answer too. I'm telling you right now, incredible answer. So here's what I want. Here's what I want to tell you as well, within the space of crypto and NFTs and blockchain, with your game Shrapnel, do y'all have y'all discussed this or had time to think about how you can seamlessly utilize the game to educate about crypto and NFT? So I'll give you an example of what I mean. Let's say it's a shooter, right? So let's say you go into one of the levels and you pick up an item, and the item is blockchain 27.5, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And this blockchain does this and blah 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 when you use this weapon. Boom. So you're teaching about everything through the use of the game, and then people like, oh, I get it. So for example, you know how, like, let's say you get a good headshot and you get certain XP. So the thing is, I'm gonna use the blockchain to get my headshot on this NFT, and now I'm getting I'm getting experience points on getting rewarded with the NFT I got because I used the blockchain to shoot the thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the unique way to teach about it so people could get the concept of how this works in real life. What are your thoughts on that? Have y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. You know, that's kind of somebody did a Doom mod recently where you take pictures of people's like Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs.
Yeah.
As I say, we have thought a lot about what that level of information education looks like, but not in the game itself. It's more tied to our kind of web experience, because we're going to have a large amount of functionality. Part of our actual like user creation tools are going to be very web centric, especially at the more kind of approachable level when you just want to make a badge and like put your stamp on something. You can imagine like that doesn't have to live in the game client. You'll certainly see it when you're equipping things, but you can go in, you know, in your free time in a browser or whatever and start like building your brand basically. So in that kind of ecosystem, we've definitely thought about that educational part, but not gamifying it. I kind of like that. I might write that down and steal it.
Yeah, yo, so that's why I said it. So we on record right now that if you want to use that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we'll credit you.
Yeah, credit me. And I'm already a character in different games. So if you ever play Watch Dogs 2, I'm a character in that game. If I did the theme song for that game too. I'm an artist. I make songs for games.
Kidding.
Like, I do this for real. I'll send you some stuff. We gonna talk again. You know, trust me, I got you. But I'm telling you right now, when a lot of people fear what they don't understand, but when the moment you make them understand and there's a value to them with what they understand, now the whole message is different. You understand what I'm saying? So I think considering that you are, you know, building something on a blockchain that we're going to play and experience, I also think that it would be an ethical responsibility if you create a unique, creative way to educate through the gameplay itself, so people could receive the information and the knowledge instead of feeling that the knowledge is being forced and evasive on them. And I think that right there would change the landmark for everything that y'all do going forward, to make it a bit more of an easier road with what you're creating and the relationship of understanding the information between the gamers and the game developers and so on and so forth, and everybody coming together more. So that's my suggestion. That's my suggestion.
No, I'm gonna hit you up afterwards, because you know, the kind of fleshing out of that, the next design iteration would be like, well, how do we do that with the tone where it's like the appropriate tone? Because it can't be like I'm going to school. It needs to be
exactly.
It needs to be. How do you keep it fun?
How do you keep it fun? That? Exactly. Now remember, like, everybody know, I'm a journalist, but I'm way more than that. So like, journalist, artist, business development, I do it all. You have everybody else, and then you have Hip Hop Gamer. I'm a one of one for a reason. You understand what I'm saying?
Love it.
Different when I come around. I'm telling you. So now here's what I want to tell you, and this is very important, very important. So Nas, you know what I'm saying? Like, we talking hip hop right now, bro. So Nas dropped his NFT, and he has certain NFTs that you get on his album. 2 of those songs, you'll be able to collect royalties on his songs because you invested in the NFT. It's crazy. So what I want to ask you is, when people buy Shrapnel, is it more of the traditional let me buy this game and play it? Or do y'all have an infrastructure built in where when they buy this game, it's more of an investment, actual investment, as opposed to just buying another game? Do y'all have that in place? And if so, can you discuss that a little bit so we can understand the difference on how the enjoyment of your game can actually be beneficial to your actual life beyond just the enjoyment you get from experiencing the title?
Yeah. I'm formulating again in my brain exactly the altitude that I can answer this. I will say the short answer is yes.
Okay.
The longer answer is we'll have a lot of info about this very soon. But I
Okay.
will say our goal in Shrapnel is that eventually the community owns Shrapnel, and that we as a team fade away to either support or moving on to the next thing or the next evolution of what Shrapnel is. We see actually our success criteria as, because a huge part of our platform is creator tools, and you certainly own. I mean, it's blockchain. You own your stuff, and that includes the stuff you make and get to decide what you do with, right? And all the ways that the community interacts with that. We see our success criteria as like moving towards a lot of the stuff that you're interacting with comes from us, more of to the community. We hit an equilibrium point that's like pop your champagne at a celebration day. And then as we move towards community is actually taking over, and that's from a governance perspective, that's from like an ownership perspective, we mean less and less to the evolution of the platform past that point. So our goal is to create a self-sufficient, um, um, you know, you use the word investor. I would use the word participant base, because there's a lot of pieces to that, right? There,
Yeah.
like you are investing your time and your effort and your creative energy and all of those pieces. And we'll have a lot to share. Like this is something we've put probably the most thought into in
Gotcha.
terms of how people can participate and how they can be incentivized and rewarded appropriately.
Now, considering this is a blockchain game that you're building this on, what platforms are you targeting? And the reason why I'm asking this is because, well, first let me ask you this: is this mobile only, or is this targeted for PlayStation, Xbox, PC, like everything? Like, talk to me.
It's out of the gate, it's PC. So we
Okay.
have and this it's purely, in the game industry, when you're making games, you've got a scope somewhere. We're
Right.
doing a lot of stuff all at once. Our first easy scoping is you reduce the platforms that you're going to be on, because that just
Oh.
it increases the matrix of complexity. And if you want to actually deliver something effective and do it well, you need to scope at some point. So I will say though that mobile is the next Eye of Sauron target, right?
Gotcha.
The consoles TBD. There's a policy wall with consoles in terms of having blockchain backing and what that means.
Gotcha.
We're knocking down a lot of walls. I think somebody else might knock down one of those, those walls on the respective platforms before we
Okay.
get to that point.
Okay.
So we'll draft behind whatever decision making happens there. But
Okay.
I worked for 6 years in Xbox, fully familiar with developing on all the consoles in my
Got it.
history, and being inside the walls of how those decisions get made. So not I'm not like fearful of or allergic to it. It's just
Got you.
got limited time in the day, man. We gotta like figure out which battles we pick, right?
Absolutely, that's smart. So then let me ask you this, man. If you could be honest, knowing the culture of Xbox and also seeing how dominant PlayStation is,
Yeah.
which company you feel will be the first to say, you know what, like Gears of War 6 blockchain, like or hold on, or on the PlayStation side, let's say that, you know what, we got the brand new Twisted Metal, or we got the brand new SOCOM blockchain. Boom. Which company you think is gonna take a stab at it first, especially from an exclusive standpoint, coming directly from their own studios they own?
Yeah. You're asking which of the first party titles are actually going to crack that nut first,
Yeah.
as opposed to them letting a Ubisoft title or something do it on their platform.
Yeah.
Um, man, I don't know. That is a spicy question.
I know.
You know, I
I'm the best for a reason
my
at
gut,
this.
yeah, my gut would probably say Microsoft. It's going to be Xbox. I think they're taking a little more risk lately, from what I've seen. Right, their Game Pass program and rollout and the overwhelming success. Those are like long-term commitments. That's some pretty
Yep.
future-looking program. And when you start those things as a huge expenditure on their side, they're like hoping pays off in the future. Their whole kind of move of branding Xbox not as the console, but as the like way that you play the games, also a big shift and a big payoff. So I think because of that, I would think Xbox would be the place that you see something like that first.
Got you.
But then there's, you kind of brought up the titles in which you might see it first, which is the other
Yes.
aspect to it, right? Which is like maybe Forza Horizon or something would be where want something in that space. I could
Yep.
totally see cracking the blockchain nut. Most people don't realize it, but Minecraft actually did NFTs at one point on the Engine platform. It was just this little side
Yep.
social program, and I think some people probably got in trouble for doing it at Microsoft. but they've already kind of done something.
Got you.
So I don't know. That would be
Is
my bet.
Yeah, it's very and the reason why I brought this up is because I do a lot of research on patents, and I know Sony, along with Microsoft, has certain patents already in place specifically for blockchain
Ooh,
technology. And
Dish. What are they?
yeah.
What's
I can
that?
share. I can share it with you. Like, there's no problem. I can send it to you. I can share it with you. But I did a lot of research and a lot of studying, and Sony in particular has been investing a lot in security, fraud, things of that nature for their next blockchain moves.
So
Now,
is that Sony PlayStation or Sony Entertainment?
so this is Sony Interactive Entertainment. This is Sony
Oh no
SIE,
kidding.
Sony
Yeah.
Interactive
Okay.
Entertainment. Yes.
Yeah.
And the
'Cause-
thing and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because let's just say when you see, the next Spider-Man, Wolverine, and a lot of these, when you see how The Last of Us is a show now, Uncharted is a movie, and all these other things, you're gonna start to see all the lines of entertainment blur across each other with NFTs, blockchain, metaverses all attached to them. So let's just say we know what PlayStation Home was, and we know how far ahead of their time it was. I was the
yeah.
first journalist inside PlayStation Home with my
Wow, no
belt and
kidding.
everything. Yes,
Nice.
yes, broke barrier breaker all day. So what I'm trying to tell you right now, and that's why I asked you, is this game coming to console as well? Because I wanted you to understand that what you're building right here, I didn't see the game yet, so I can't pass judgment. But just by talking to you and understanding what the game may have in it and where you're trying to take it to, is probably bigger than what you can even imagine based off what Sony and Microsoft is about to do to have an
Yeah.
infrastructure to support what you're building.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to shed that light. So now,
I like it.
you like it? All right, cool. So
Yeah.
a couple more questions for you, bro. Then we wrap it up. My next question is Shrapnel a game that's more run and gun or more tactical? And is it dealing with just humans, or is there some aliens and zombies here? Like, if you could share that type of detail of the style of game that we can expect, bro.
I could probably answer the first one a little more freely than the second. The second we get into kind of worlds and story texture that we'll have a lot
Okay.
to reveal very soon. I would say from a motion perspective, it's definitely not Moon Boots Halo.
Yeah.
It is far more what I'll call motion with intention, right?
Mm.
Uh, yeah. So obviously we want to stay on the arcadey side of that because it still needs to feel good, right? You go like too far, and then all you're doing is micromanaging the state of things on yourself and thinking about too much as opposed to just getting into the game and having fun.
Right.
I like my history through the game industry, I was always started as a gameplay and AI engineer, as like lead in that space. So I am close to the metal in terms of how things feel. Like I need them to feel good, and I spend many years just with the magic of why something feels good or doesn't. It's like
Got you.
we love that Destiny weapon feedback. I still like nowadays think they still have probably the best feeling weapons in the industry right now. Everybody kind of tries to get to that level that, aside from just the variety of what they have, nailing someone in the head, the feedback of the weapon, like they pay so much attention to just the animation frames and the audio, and every little piece of it feels so good in that game. So that's, I would say that's more of an example when you're talking about that level of visceral, like click on pixel. What do I
Mm,
feel? Is it satisfying? We're
yeah.
definitely going more for that than like, what is going on with my weapon? Like, things are flying all over the place because it is an accurately modeled recoil system with, XYZ. It's like, nah, that stuff needs to feel good, and we need to like we're leaning way more in that direction of it needs to be legible. That feedback needs to be good. I need to understand if I miss something, why I missed it.
Yeah.
It needs to be my fault, not because of something I don't
Yes.
understand. Yeah.
Word. Yeah, that I'm telling you right now. That's my thing. If I did something wrong and I got killed in the game, fine. It's my fault. But I don't like having a shotgun to your face, son, bow, and you standing there like nothing happened. Then you hit me
Oh,
with a knife. And I look, those are the moments where it's like, this is why I make money. Because if you want to break every controller you own at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta make
yeah.
money. Like, I'm telling you, it's crazy. So now another question that I have for you are so I'm a huge fan of fidelity super resolution on AMD graphics cards. It's just like how Nvidia has DLSS and all this other
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm huge on these technologies where you could play a game at 1080p to get those frames, but it looked like you playing in 4K. Like, it looks exactly like, I love it. So
Yeah,
my
it's
question,
magic.
yeah, it's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And now AMD Red Team, you know what I'm saying? I'm signed with AMD. You know what I mean? That's family right
Oh, I
there.
didn't. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good
yeah,
to know before I
yeah,
start
yeah.
saying something to get me in trouble.
I'm a partner with AMD. You know what I'm saying? So we good here. We good. You know what I mean? And look, let me tell you something. Like, I'm real. Like if there's something you like, you say it. If there's something you don't like about AMD, you say it.
All
Like,
right.
I keep it real because that's how you learn. Like, you know what I mean? So let's go. So one thing I would tell you is with they made the announcement of RSR. So now they're gonna have that same technology powered by FSR, but it's at the driver level now. So every game can utilize it and benefit from it. Now,
Yeah.
Forspoken is a game that's being designed with FSR in mind as well, and is being designed exclusively for the PlayStation 5. My question to you, with all of these new technologies that's being built, how are
Yeah.
you utilizing and tapping into these technologies for the development of Shrapnel, especially on a blockchain, platform? I'm just very interested to see how you guys are using this for the betterment in your development in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say the blockchain part isn't really related to what you're talking about at all, right?
Okay,
It's you could think of that as its own kind of
thing.
service piece. Yeah, the game is still engineered in the same way that PC games have been created for a decade.
Got it.
Um, that said, there is a what we call kind of a machine strata that you have to support, right? Like, the game has to have a min spec that it runs on, and then you have to cater also to those people who've got the beefy cards in their machine
Like
that are
me.
running your own like neon liquid cooled rig in the corner, yeah, or up on the desk so you can show it off. Like, we absolutely have to cater to that, and that is in the difficulty of PC game development. That is actually the hardest part, is
Wow.
PC compatibility. And you never know when you start slapping different pieces of hardware together what is going to go wrong. So
Yeah, I can
you
imagine.
got to like have a support response of like taken people's feedback from the wild. What's wrong? Oh my God, we can't test every combination that exists. It's just not possible. So in terms of supporting that like those types of technologies, and that goes into things like so we're on UE5 is the engine, Unreal 5. So you talk about things like Lumen and Nanite, and you can certainly see how they apply to what artists can make and what like the content that's coming in the engine and how it's lit. So all of those things have to be measured and balanced against each other so that somebody who's got a mid-tier rig can play it and be happy with that experience, and the person who's playing at 8K
Yeah.
on their giant
Yep.
curve monitor, right, with everything turned to ultra, also has a great experience.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I love that the like machine learning super sampling techniques of I guess about 2 years ago that NVIDIA first came out with those, and it was
Yeah.
originally it was very tailored for just titles. Like titles had to submit, and then they had to be trained on it, and it would only work if you went through that process. But now, like all technology nowadays,
Yep.
it's like, nah, it just works for everything. Don't worry about it.
That's crazy. I love it. So I'm a big fan of all of that tech, and I think it's a game changer. And I think more people should be talking about it. That's why I asked you about it, man. So
Yeah.
one thing that I always like to ask creatives, man, is we love our games, we play games, and a lot of times, we don't care about what it takes. We just want to play our game. So my question to you, man, none of this stuff is easy. You know what I mean? It's a lot of hard work, sleepless nights, time away from fam. Like we know how this go, especially going through the pandemic and the times. Everything could just be extra, tough, on you.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, and I love to ask people this, man. But what was a moment in your life when you felt like you was at your lowest and things couldn't get any worse, but you managed to find strength in that moment that allowed you to be successful today?
Wow. That was probably, wow, it's a tough one. I have a couple actually. I'll talk about a couple.
Okay.
One was probably was definitely on Bioshock Infinite, right in the middle of that project.
Oh, wow.
Um, that was a very long development cycle. We probably destroyed about 10 times as much game as shipped in the process of making that game. Granted, the entire studio's culture was based around very rapid iteration. Like, nobody get too precious with your stuff because it'll probably get thrown in the trash and then recreated. And it's only by virtue of that process that you end up with something that's really good. So you create your tool set to allow it to happen quickly, right?
Got it.
So that said, it was a long development process, and I would say uh, we had many public pushes to the date, bumps of the date, more internal pushes to the date. So I would say around about a year into that happening was probably one of the lowest points in my career, and certainly creative project making, because you just never think you're going to get anything out the door at that point. And ultimately, um, the team around you and wanting them to deliver and feel satisfied with the product. And I was in a leadership role at that point at Irrational, so it was more like that, finding that energy to carry it through. That I think was the piece that made it happen. I'd say the other was I left Microsoft in like 2018, I think it was,
Right.
and did consulting for about a year. And consulting's a completely different animal.
Yep.
You're jumping in, and you'll find people you groove with, but then you've got to step away and do something else, and you kind of like want to get deeper. And I think that emotionally was a low point for me. And the
Wow.
thing that actually pulled me out of it was meeting the team at HBO that's currently our founders at Neon. So to end that on a positive note, that story on a positive note, the best thing ever that could have happened is what came out of that. And it was all just meeting the right people, doing the right thing at the right time, and it was the perfect moment after having gone through that kind of year-long journey of trying to solo it and understanding what that means for me and what I liked and didn't like, and realizing who I was and what I wanted to do, and then meeting those people at the right time.
Yo, first of all, before we wrap this up, with two more questions, I gotta clap it up for you, bro. I'm so serious, man. Like it's so just so you can understand how passionate I am about gaming and gaming culture. The developers, like everything that makes it work and run. My grandmother, rest in peace, she taught me how to play video games when I was 4 years old. So I've been playing video games all my life. Like this is my career for real. So everything that I do, things that I've accomplished, everything that's coming to me, the way God has blessed me, it all ties back to my grandma as well. So when I talk to you and I talk to people just in the industry, you have no clue how you really impact me. You know what I mean? I love you guys for it. I really sincerely mean that. And when you spoke about Bioshock Infinite, I loved this game, son.
Oh,
if I was to see you in person right now, I would be picking you up and holding you like this. Like
oh,
you don't understand, son. Bioshock Infinite? This joint was crazy, son. The whole story, you in heaven, the way they had to set up, and then you doing this, and then the burn, you got the Satan mark on your head, and all this. Yo, I was like, this is, how are they doing this? So just know, I loved that game, and that was the best Bioshock to me. Period.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, I just had to give you your props.
Hearing stuff like that, man. I will say, of all the games I've worked on, like, I've worked on Madden and Star Wars and stuff, like big titles that typically other people would recognize, but it's certainly in the gamer community. Bioshock resonates in the gamer community.
That's a gamer's game. That's what I'm talking about.
I was with one of my buddies who was actually the UX, who's the UI lead on Bioshock Infinite. We were in the French Quarter in just like partying for a week basically in Louisiana, and we just had a bar that we would go to regularly, and the bartender was a different bartender the last day right before we were going to leave, and we were like doing our hey, give us some shots, whatever, and he had like a tattoo peeking out, so we were just making idle chatter, like, what's your tattoo? He's like, oh, you wouldn't know what it was. And we're like, nah, man, show us. So I picked his shirt up, and it was a songbird from Infinite, all down his entire side.
That's
like, funny story, actually. We do know what that is.
Yo, that's crazy. I think I would have cried. Right there. I'm like, yo, because that's another thing. You never know who you're impacting. You never know who's going through something bad, and your game made them feel good. Like, I can imagine that, bro. So I'm personally letting you know, man, that you are loved. We are humbled and thankful for you. And Shrapnel, we're going to push this out. The moment y'all ready to talk more about it, you call me and let me know, and we're going to blow this up all over again. Like, for real, this is crazy, son. I'm serious, B. So now, two other things, the two last questions that I got for you. The next question is this, right? Unreal Engine 5. If you can answer this, especially from a developer standpoint. Tim Sweeney was talking about, this is like, when we first seen the Unreal Engine 5 demo, when they showed it running on PlayStation and stuff like that. And then after that, we get Matrix, which is, oh my God, son. That don't make no sense. It should be illegal to be that amazing. Like, for real, son. That joke is crazy.
That was super impressive. Yep.
Blew me away. So one of the things that stood out to me from what Tim Sweeney said regarding the SSD development, especially in PlayStation, the way it's designed, and then the way he spoke about the way on the Matrix, when you look at the world streaming, like the way they have everything set up and the textures and everything, what you can see, and pretty much no popping and all this other stuff. I have to ask you from a development standpoint, especially using UE5. When you look at the SSDs in both systems, both of them is amazing. But the SSD in PlayStation is faster, and I know a lot of people, especially Tim Sweeney, was talking about the way it's naturally designed. The SSD is where Sony has a one-up on, on Xbox and stuff like that, right? And Xbox seems to have more just raw processing power over Sony, right? Okay. My question to you in terms of working on UE5. Now, I know you're not building the game on PlayStation or Xbox. You're doing the stuff on PC. But based off your experience, seeing things, and the the validity of the SSD and the importance of it, especially after what we seen with Ratchet and Clank and the way those worlds transfer like that. Um, how important it is now for the SSD to play a role in what you're trying to accomplish, design and creatively, when you're building, a game in general. Because when I saw this, I was like, all these streaming things and all this other stuff, and even on PlayStation 5, it handled it better than the Xbox did when you look at the Matrix. So I'm like, what's going on here? What is this telling me? Or what am I missing? So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I have a lot because, I was technical leadership on a couple open world games, which are where this
Share
really
it
makes a
all.
difference.
I'm here. Let's go.
So I was the tech lead on Sunset Overdrive, and then on a game called Crackdown 3. Those are the types of titles where it makes the biggest difference because, like nerdy segue for a second. One of the biggest bottlenecks in a computer is the I/O from the disk, the input output from the disk. That's where you get throttled trying to get data from the hard drive into memory.
Right.
And then memory around the CPU, and like that whole shuttling of data is where things get choked up. So in an open world streaming game, there's no load screens. You're wandering around. You have to do this continuously.
Right.
For things like the Matrix demo, that's why it's important and impressive, because there's a lot of very high quality data that they have to shuttle in and out. So that said, it's not just the drive, and certainly in PCs, right? You see the M2 NVMe drives that you have now that they look like a memory stick that goes underneath your video card, basically, and those are in that same vein. A lot of it has to do with, in a PC at least, the way the motherboard's constructed, because like the data has to get from the drive to memory somehow. So you've got a data bus that's shuttling everything back and forth. So with a console, with a PlayStation and Xbox, they're able to think about the entire architecture, so the drives and the data bus to the memory and how that all works to make it as fast as possible. I think it's just going to be table stakes in the future, right? This style of faster I/O from the disk, it's going to keep, the low watermark's going to keep going up and up and up. I will say, for a game like Shrapnel, our game is not an open world game.
Okay.
So it matters less. The impact, if you've got slower hardware, would be that it takes longer to load into game effectively, right?
Got it. So now, just to finalize, just so I can understand more, if you have a better SSD in terms of speed wise, you can have better open world performance in terms of the assets being streamed in correctly, so you don't get that pop in and things
less pop in. Exactly.
Less pop in. And then because of the way the bus is and the way they talk to each other, based off that design, the game itself can run at a higher performance because it could talk to each other at a faster rate.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
You got it.
So now, now I know you have the console wars and the fanboy stuff and everything with PlayStation Xbox, but I just wanted to talk about it from a standpoint of just truth and technical and stuff like that. We know that PS5 has the faster SSD. We know that, and according to what Tim Sweeney said, and with Unreal Engine 5 and the fact that your game is built on that, when it comes to your game, Shrapnel, you said it's not as important because it's not open world, but just because it's not open world, is there other things that your game will benefit from having, that SSD style and that bus? Like, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I really believe that I honestly see Shrapnel eventually coming to a PlayStation 5 and Xbox. I can see that.
Preach,
I feel
man.
that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can see that. Just from this conversation, I could tell that there's so much in this game, and you made me excited about something that I haven't even seen yet. You understand what I'm saying? So my thing is, based off the technical specs, do you think you'll be able to get the most out of the PS5 or the Xbox, or will both of them be the same according to your game?
They'd both be the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the differences would be negligible. There's certainly, like, even not being open world, there's still pieces of streaming that are happening all the time, but it's not at that heavy weight that that an open world game demands. You know,
Got it.
certainly when you have vanity items and you're going through giant catalogs of items, you're also doing that same sort of thing. Like those can't all necessarily like live in memory, so they're being streamed in as you go. You can see that in games that have large amounts of customization for the character. Sometimes it'll take a second before you
Yeah.
can see like what you're looking at. That's basically the same thing happening. So
Got it.
there's certainly like elements where you might be able to notice like microsecond differences, but
Got
it's
you.
not it's
Got you.
not
But
going to be anything.
there's not
Yeah,
anything to write home about. Got you. So
no,
for the
yeah,
final question, Dawn, for the final question, bro. Now before we get to the final question, this is our first interview. How you feeling? Are you enjoying it? Is it good? Is it bad? Talk to me.
yeah.
Like,
I
just keep
love
it
it.
real, man.
I love it, man. You can have me on anytime.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Let's go. Yo, gotta spin a chain on that one, son. Gotta spin a chain on that, baby. So for the final question, Don, this is very, very, very important, bro. So you see my hat, you know what I'm saying? This is Furia Esports. You know what I mean? And we're one of the biggest esports organizations in the world. Third to be exact when it comes to engagement, but we coming for that number one spot because I only know how to do number one. Period. Like that's how I operate, son. So here's what I want to ask you, man. A lot of game companies, they'll make a game and they like, yo, maybe this can be in an esport, or maybe this could be this. And sometimes it's very forced because everybody wants to ride the wave in the trend of esports. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
my question to you is whether your game is something that esport players gravitate to or watch or however big it gets, whatever. My question to you is, have y'all thought about actually doing like deals with esport teams? So whether your game is an esport game or not, you still have the support of the esport culture because you did a business deal that ties your game to the esports brand or that esports organization so it can still live on in the culture of esports even if the game itself doesn't become a big esport title. What's your
Oh
thoughts on
yeah.
that?
I mean, I love it. Like all of the game industry culture we want to be a part of and tap into, even if we're not competing or directly in that space. I will say we've definitely thought about esports in Shrapnel. Um, Extraction is an interesting mode to apply esports to. So a lot of the design iteration that's been going on in that space. There's some interesting stuff coming out of it. We're not taking the Overwatch approach, which is probably the best example of they thought about esports from the very
Yeah,
beginning, right?
very
Like their
beginning.
whole league, yeah, piece is probably the most curated example of building an esports community that we've seen thus far, right? Um, but we are definitely keeping our eye on a more kind of grassroots evolution, and to the point of even having kind of service integration. So eyeing like tournament integration into the title itself, so people can build those communities themselves. And we think that kind of makes sense in the crypto space as well. You're going to have a
Yeah.
lot of more interesting social networking going on. But in terms of cross promotion and having our brand being like tapped into everything esports represents, yeah, that's like the top tier energy of the gaming world. Of course, we want to be part of that and involved in it as much as we can.
Yo, listen, I'm telling you right now, it's on. It's on and it's over. Wait, I'm telling you right now. I got something for you. We gotta talk a lot more off camera, but I'm very, very excited, very proud, very humbled. The level of humility that I have just seeing y'all shine and grow and getting the funding that y'all need. It's amazing. And I pray that even if there's even more funding that y'all need, that y'all able to get that too. And now that we had our conversation and broke bread, however I can be valuable to what you're doing. Look, yo, you got another brother. You know what I mean? You got another
I
brother now.
appreciate
You know
that,
what I'm
man.
saying? So
Likewise, appreciate it.
big time, man. So look, God bless. Is there anything that you want to leave the fans with even if it's a tease, before we get out of here, bro? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, keep an eye on shrapnel.com. Our Twitter's at Play Shrapnel. And we've got a fairly active Discord that's burgeoning and building. We encourage everyone to get in there and get involved because it's going to be a hot place in the very, very near future that you're going to want to be part of. You're going to want to be early crew.
All right, let's get it. So look, y'all, it's the one and only furious hip hop gamer, Logitech G8MD on your hot 9-7 every day. That's my word. One love and God bless. We are out of here.